Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, sorry for the prophetic hadith course title. I actually wasn't really sure about what to call it. So initially it was called prophetic hadith course, but that would have been a bit confusing for many people. So, okay, has everyone got the notes? Do you guys receive the notes? Yeah, excellent. Okay, right. So this is a bit of the outline of what we're going to be covering today. Okay, we're going to be covering these generally, and then throughout the course we're going to be going in more detail about these. Okay, so this is generally what we're going to be covering. So let me just break it down for you guys. Now, the Arabic language, okay, has what we call words, and these words in Arabic are called a kalima. Kalima means a word. If you have any questions, you can ask whenever you like. Okay, there's no restrictions, inshallah. So if you have any questions, you want me to repeat something, inshallah I'll repeat it. So a word is called a kalima in Arabic. Now, every single word in the Quran is a kalima, and kalimas are divided into three types. There's three types of word you get in Arabic. You get something which is known as an ism. Ism. That's number one. An ism is basically a word that has a meaning on its own. So it has a meaning on its own, and it's not restricted to time. Those are the two things you have to remember about an ism. So if I say to you, for example, like the word chair. Yeah, so the word chair is an ism. Why? Because if you were just to say chair, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, it's a thing, an object, an item, or a concept which comes into your mind straight away. And it's not restricted to time, i.e. chair, the word chair does not mean past, nor does it mean future, nor does it mean present. Yeah, in the past it was called a chair, now it's a chair, in the future it's a chair. So any sort of word which fulfills these two things is known as an ism. Number two is you have a fi'l. Okay, fi'l basically means a word which has a meaning, and the only difference between this and the ism is this is time bound. So a fi'l refers to a specific time. Okay, so if I say, for example, drove. So in Arabic, we would call the word drove a fi'l. Why? Because it has a meaning. If I say to you drove, in your mind, you imagine someone driving a car. And it's time bound because drove is past. So it refers to an incident that occurred before. Okay, so these are all isms and fi'ls. Okay, let me test you on this now. Let's say I said the word house. Is that an ism or is it a fi'l? House. Ism or fi'l? Ism. Very good. Okay, what if I said this? Eating. Eating. Ism or fi'l? Eating. It's a fi'l. Yeah, very good. Okay, now the third type is called a harf. Harf. Now what you're going to notice in this course is that I'm not going to be using those very archaic kind of English words, right, that you get in some of the Arabic grammar books. I'm sure you've probably seen them, and they're very difficult to understand. And so I'm going to be using majority of Arabic words, and wherever I think that the Arabic word is a bit difficult to understand, I'll give you a little meaning of it in English. So we have harf. Harf basically means a word that has no meaning on its own. No meaning on its own, that is. Okay, so it has no meaning on its own, and it's not time bound. Yeah. So no meaning on its own basically means this, that if you were to say the word, it doesn't give its own meaning. It can only have a meaning when you attach it to another word. For example, like the word in. Now the word in doesn't really have a meaning on its own. Yeah, because in on its own doesn't really mean anything. If I was to attach the word the house next to it, now it's given a meaning. Yeah, now you know that in actually means the inside of the house, something occurring within the walls of the house. But without the word house, if I was to remove the word house, in does not really serve any meaning on its own. So a harf, which in English they call particle, okay, you might want to note that. So the harf, which is the particle, it does not have a meaning in itself. All right, and that's basically what the word is all about. So a kalima is divided into three categories: an ism, which is a word that has meaning on its own, and it's not restricted to any time. And then you have a fi'l, which has meaning, but is restricted to time. And then you have a harf, which doesn't fulfill any of the previous ones, i.e. has no meaning and no time. Yeah. Some of the grammarians, what they tend to say is, the way they define harf is they say a harf is something that's not an ism and it's not a fi'l. Yeah, so they do deduction. So they remove the ism, say if it's not an ism, if it's not an fi'l, right, it must be a harf. So this is basically the first part that you need to understand. So for example, like in this hadith course, every single word that you have in the notes, it either is an ism, it's either a fi'l, or it's either a harf. It has to be one of those. It can't be anything else. Now obviously the big task ahead for you guys is, how do you know a word is an ism? As in, you'd have to find the meaning of the word, right, to be able to identify if it's an ism or not. And maybe you'd have to know a bit about whether a word is time bound or not. So that's something which obviously I can't teach you that, because the vocabulary in Arabic language is very vast. That's going to take a bit of time for you to pick up as you go along. So inshallah, whatever words we cover in this course, you learn them inshallah. But besides that, you'd have to pick up words yourself by using a dictionary. So first of all, ism. Now, when we talk about isms, right, when we talk about isms and fi'ls, these are the two main kind of words that we really want to focus on, right? And the reason we want to focus on these two words is because in Arabic, when you study Arabic grammar, what you want is a sentence. That's all you're after. We're after sentences. We're not after individual words per se. We want sentence. So when you want a sentence is of two types. A sentence is either what we call an ism based sentence. An ism based sentence. Or a fi'l based sentence. So every single sentence in the Quran is of two types. Either it's an ism based sentence or it's a fi'l based sentence. What are the two? A fi'l based sentence is basically a sentence that starts off with a fi'l. Yeah? So it doesn't matter how many words come after it. If the first word in the sentence is a fi'l, then we call this a fi'l based sentence. The technical term for it is jumla fi'liya. Okay, by the way, we're going to be covering a bit of introduction today, quite a lot of introduction about the basic things that we need to know. And then we're going to start the hadith inshallah. So a jumla fi'liya, a sentence that begins with a fi'l, is known as a jumla fi'liya, a fi'l based sentence, a verb based sentence basically. And a sentence that starts off with a noun, or has a noun as the first word, right? So it has an ism basically as a first word. We call that a jumla ismiya. We call it a jumla ismiya. So whenever I say to you, okay guys, is this sentence a jumla fi'liya or is this sentence a jumla ismiya, then you understand it like that. Okay, so you say to me, right, this is a jumla ismiya. And I say to you, why? And you say to me, because it's orientated, it's based around an ism. It starts off with an ism. And this is a jumla fi'liya because it starts off with a fi'l. Right, let me give you a couple of examples just to clarify things now. Now, here's an example of a jumla fi'liya. For example, ذهب Zaid. Okay, so ذهب Zaid. ذهب Zaid. So the first word in the sentence, this is a fi'l. Okay, the first word in the sentence is a fi'l. So this is a fi'l based sentence. So because it's a fi'l based sentence, what we call this is we call it a jumla fi'liya. Right, because it starts off with a fi'l. Make sense? Okay, and an example of a jumla ismiya, exactly the same thing, but if we were to start the sentence off like this, Zaid ذهب. Zaid ذهب. So Zaid ذهب, the sentence is based around an ism. So it starts off with an ism. Okay, so this is known as a jumla ismiya. Jumla ismiya. Okay, so these are two types of sentences that you have in Arabic. Jumla fi'liya, a sentence that starts off with a fi'l, and jumla ismiya, sentence that starts off with an ism. So what do these mean? Dhahaba means went. Went. And because it has the meaning of past in there, it's a fi'l. Zaid is the person, is a name of a person. So this is an ism. So dhahaba Zaidun. Zaid went. And this is exactly the same. So Zaid is the ism, dhahaba is the fi'l, right? But because now we've started the beginning of the sentence with a noun, with an ism, we don't call it a fi'l sentence, we call it an ism sentence. So Zaidun dhahaba. Now, in English, the two sentences technically mean exactly the same thing. Because when you translate dhahaba Zaidun, you get Zaid went, and when you translate Zaid dhahaba, you get Zaid went. But there is a big difference between the two meanings. Alright? And I'm not going to list all the differences. I'm just going to list a few differences between a jumla fi'liya and a jumla ismiya. Yeah, everyone understand it up to there? Any questions? Yep. Okay, so. Yep, go for it, brother. Okay, we're going to come across that one. We're going to come to that one. Is there any sentence that starts with a harf? Technically, no. Grammar-wise, no. But moving words in a sentence does not nullify a sentence from being an ism. Does that make sense? So if I rearrange certain words, then that does not necessarily mean that it's no longer a jumla ismiya. Alright, so that's something we're going to learn as well, inshallah. Good question. Okay, so what's one of the differences between these then? So some of the differences between these are, so a jumla fi'liya, it comes for something which is done now and again. In other words, it's temporary. It has the meaning of being temporary. So if I said dhahaba Zaid, it means he did it in the past. So imagine this is a timeline and we're over here. And if I say to you dhahaba Zaid, then basically what that means is somewhere in the past, Zaid did the action of going. Maybe he done it for 1 minute, maybe he done it for 1 hour, but he done it. Right? So it has the meaning of now and again, temporary. But if I say to you Zaidun dhahaba, that actually has the meaning of being permanent. Yeah, being permanent. So Zaidun dhahaba, it has the meaning of being permanent and also emphasis. So Zaidun dhahaba would mean that Zayd, he went, as in Zayd is someone who goes. Like he was the one who went. So we're not like looking for what did Zayd do. What we're looking for is who went. So let me rephrase that again. If I was to ask a question, like let's say this is a class, and I asked a question, what did Zayd do? And you said to me, Zayd went. I would phrase the question like this, the answer like this: ذهب Zayd. And if we were in a class, and I was to say to you, who went? As in, I know someone went, but I want to know who. So I say, Zayd ذهب. So this one has more permanency, as in it's an answer which is more permanent. That Zayd, that person, he went. And this one has the meaning of temporariness. So if I say to you, what did Zayd do? He went. He did the action of going for a short while. Everyone understand that? Make sense? Yeah. And this is like extremely important if you want to understand the Quran. Because in the Quran, you know, sometimes Allah will bring a verb. Allah will sometimes says something like this. Look. Okay. Allah says, خلق الله. خلق Allah. And sometimes he says, Allahu khalaqa. You've probably seen it in the Quran. He starts, sometimes he makes it a jumla fi'liya, خلق Allah, fi'l. And sometimes he makes it a jumla ismiya. And Allah does things deliberately. So what would the difference be then? Can anyone work it out? What would the difference be between these two? Try to think of it in a question form. Like, what kind of a question would this sentence answer? What kind of a question would this sentence answer? And what kind of a question would this sentence answer? Any ideas? No? Okay, remember, the fi'l based sentence, the question that you ask for that would be this: that what did Allah do? So you know Allah done something, but what did he do? So the answer is خلق Allah. Allah created. And the ism based sentence, the jumla ismiya, what's the question? That we know someone created, but who was it? Who created? Allah says, Allahu khalaqa. No one else, it was Allah that created. Everyone with me? Make sense? Yeah, shall we move on? Okay, so that's what we've covered. So sentences are divided into two categories: jumla fi'liya and jumla ismiya. Okay, and this is why it's extremely important to understand this now, because every single sentence in the Quran, let me just bring up a page or a Quran for you guys just to see. Okay, so because I think this is very important. Okay, so can everyone see this? Yeah, I got Surah Fatiha on the screen. Okay, so here, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdu, this is an ism. Okay, so what kind of a sentence is this? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ismiya. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Iyaka na'budu. So Iyaka na'budu. This Iyaka was actually supposed to be over here. So in other words, the sentence starts off with a verb then. So what kind of sentence is this? Iyaka na'budu. Okay, fi'liya. Shabash, excellent. Okay. ihdina. Ihdina. Okay, so ihdina, this is, what kind of a sentence is this? Excellent. Starts off with the verb, yeah? Okay, so you got the idea, alhamdulillah. Alright, so these are the two main types of sentences that we're going to be dealing with. Now, besides this, we want to look into every ism. Now we're going to focus on isms now. So, isms, every ism, this is what we're going to be aiming for. Okay, this is what I really want you guys to do. At the end of the course, I want you guys to be able to master all this. Right, so these 6 points, you need to know all these 6 points for any ism that comes in front of you, whether it's in the Quran or whether it's in the Hadith, and we're going to be working on these. So first of all, every ism, every single ism is divided into ma'rifah or nakira. So definite or indefinite. That's what we're going to be looking at. Don't worry about the details. I'm going to explain the details as we go along. So every single sentence, every single ism in a sentence, we're going to be looking, is it ma'rifah or is it nakira? Right? Is it definite or is it indefinite? That's the first thing. Number 2, every single ism, we're going to be looking at, is it single, which is mufrad? Is it dual, tathniya? Or is it plural, jama? Okay, so every single ism in a sentence, we're going to be looking at these 3 things. So you're going to say to me, right, this word is a plural, this word is a singular, etc. Number 3, every single ism, every single noun in a sentence, we're going to identify whether it's masculine or whether it's feminine. Mudhakkar or mu'annath. Mudhakkar or mu'annath. So every single, an ism must either be mudhakkar or mu'annath. It has to come under one of these. Okay, so we're going to learn that. Number 4, we're going to look at this mu'rab or mabni. So I've given it English names as changeable vowels and non-changeable vowels. So mu'rab basically is any noun where the vowels can change in various situations. So any noun, for instance, if you look at the Quran, let's bring up the Quran. So if you look here, you have, let's say, alhamdu. Okay, so alhamdu. Now alhamdu, it has a dhamma on there. So this vowel, the dhamma, this is something that changes. So we call this a mu'rab. Lillahi, this vowel here, this changes now and again. So in this sentence, it's lillahi with a kasra. But there's other sentences where it might be a fatha or a dhamma. Rabbi is the same. Alameen is the same, etc., etc. So the ones that can change are known as mu'rabs. And there's words in the Arabic language whose vowels will never ever change. Possibly if the Day of Judgment comes, then it will change. But besides that, you're going to have no luck changing them. For example, like alladhina. Now you see, alladhina has a fatha on there. That will never ever change. It's always going to be like that. Yeah. Can you hear? So let me repeat that again. So there's certain words in the Arabic language whose vowels will never ever change. It doesn't matter what happens. Right? The vowels are never ever going to change. Right? And these are, for example, like the word alayhim. Yeah, so alayhim, never going to change. And you'll come across more as we go through. Okay, like for example, ma. Yeah, inshallah, I'll be explaining that as well. Okay, I'll be explaining that, the types of mabni. So remember, today I'm focusing on generally what we need to cover, what the things that we need to understand. So I'm giving you an overview, inshallah, of everything that we're gonna, the main thing. See, what I've done is this. Because Arabic grammar, there's lots of rules in there. We don't need all the rules all the time. Out of all of Arabic grammar, I would say possibly there's a portion of Arabic grammar. So imagine, let's say for example, this is Arabic grammar. we technically only need a certain amount that we need to know in any instance. The rest of it is either it's not used that much, or it is used but now and again. So for every sentence, there's certain things that we need to know, absolutely essential. So what I want to focus on in this course is those things that are essential that will allow you to access any sort of text, whether it's Quran, whether it's Hadith. Hello, can you hear? Okay, so let me just go back to this again then, repeat it again. So, see, in Arabic grammar, when you study Arabic grammar, there's lots of things in Arabic grammar that are not needed all the time, right? But there are certain things which are always needed. So what I want to focus on is those things that are always needed. I want us to be able to understand that and have that in our minds present every single time we see an Arabic text and to be able to solve it. So mu'rab and mabni are essential for that. Yeah, so mu'rab is words, nouns that are changeable, that change, and mabni are nouns which are non-changeable, i.e. they're always fixed. Okay, the next is we're going to be looking at marfu, mansub, majrur. These are something which is probably new to a lot of people, and this is basically states of words in a sentence. So the easiest way I can explain it, what I would say is this, that any sentence that you have, it contains words. So let's say, for example, I said ذهب زيد. Okay, ذهب زيد. Now this sentence ذهب زيد, right, it contains a noun here, this noun. So this noun, it can be of three states. It can be of three states. And these states we're going to be studying. One of the states is called marfu. One of the states is called mansub. And one of the states is called majrur. These are three states that we have. Now, the thing you have to remember about these three states is that these states are like, just imagine like this. Imagine the states like boxes you put all the words into. You shade words in. So, for example, like, I'll give you just an example, right? I'm not going to go in detail, just example. ذهب زيد. ذهب is what we call a verb. This is a fi'l. Every fi'l, every verb requires what we call a fa'il. Fa'il basically means the doer of that verb. Yeah, so ذهب زيد. Zayd went. So if I said to you, who went? Who is the doer? Who is the doer? You would say to me, it's Zayd. Zayd is the doer. Okay? Now, what that basically means is that you've placed Zayd into one of these three buckets or boxes. So, every doer, the rule is this, that every single doer belongs to the marfu family. So imagine marfu is a box. Okay, imagine marfu is a box, and this has members of the family in there. One of the members of the family of the marfu is every single fa'il. So in other words, in the Quran or in Hadith or any Arabic text, if you were to find a fa'il, if you were to find a doer of a verb, then immediately that doer comes under the marfu family. So we're going to classify it as the marfu family. So any sentence we get after that, for instance, let's say if I said to you, akala or akalat Fatima. Fatima ate. What's the doer here? Fatima ate. What's the doer? Fatima. So what family are we going to put Fatima into? Marfu family, mansub family, or majrur family? Marfu family. Excellent. Yeah. So all the fa'ils, they belong into the marfu family. Don't worry about questions you have about the file, we're going to be covering file in detail, inshallah. I'll tell you all different types of files. But all I want you to understand at this stage is, whenever we have a sentence, for instance, whenever you have a sentence like this in the Quran, every single noun on this page belongs to one of those three families. Every single noun on this page. Yeah. So for example, like dhalika, this belongs to one of the three families. Al-Kitab, this belongs to one of the three families. La Rayba, this belongs to one of the three families. Hudan, this belongs to one of the three families. Al-Ghayb, this belongs to one of the three families. Al-Ladhina, this belongs to one of the three families. And so on. So in every text, the nouns must belong to one of the three families. Does everyone get that? Yeah? Remember, if you have any questions or anything, please do ask. So this is the next thing that we're going to be looking at, which is is that noun marfu? Does it belong to the marfu family? Does it belong to the mansub family? Or does it belong to the majroor family? Okay. Now, why do we need to know marfu, mansub, majroor? We're going to learn that later, inshallah. We'll learn that as we go along. And finally, the last thing we're going to be focusing on is that some nouns are what we call amilas. They're effective. What does effective mean? Effective means that they have the power to change vowels on following words. They have the power to influence vowels. So for example, like if I have a word here, so let's say if I had the word kitab and I had the word Zaid. Okay, kitab Zaid, this basically means the book of Zaid. The book of Zaid. Again, these two words, each word here belongs to either the marfu family, the mansub family, or the majroor family. Yeah, it has to belong to one of the three. Yeah. However, the word kitab here, this is what we call an amila word. Amila meaning it's effective in the vowel of the preceding word. So the word after kitab is Zaid. Kitab has power to be able to influence the vowel on the word Zaid. So in this case, kitab has the power to give the word Zaid kasra. Okay, it has the power to give the word kasra. Why? Because it's one of the amilas. It can change vowels of following words. So this is the first type. We've got amila, which is effective, and there's many words in the Arabic language which are ghair amila. So ghair amila simply means they have no power in changing the vowels, and a lot of them are like this. You'll see. So a lot of in Zaid is mu'arab. Excellent, very good. Yeah, Zaid is mu'arab, and also kitab is mu'arab as well. Very good. Okay, now there's many words in the Arabic language. What if Zaid is not mu'arab? Then we're going to look at that, inshallah. Yeah, then it's mabni. It's a non-changing vowel. Okay, so if we look in the Quran, for instance, so let's go down here then. So in this passage, or on this page, there's many words in here, nouns in here, that are non-effective. They don't do anything to the word after it. For example, like huda. Huda doesn't really do anything to the words after it. It's a ism. Al-muflihun, it's an ism. Doesn't do anything to any of the words. There's really no word after it. But al-ladhina doesn't really do anything to the words after it. Okay. Ghishawatun, nothing. Azimun does nothing. Adhabun does nothing. Okay, so these are words that have no effect at all on any other words. Okay, so isms are divided into two categories, amila and ghair amila. Everyone got that? So what I want you to do, right, in this course is every single hadith that we get, I want you to be able to understand these 6 points about every single hadith. right? And from an extension of that, I want you to be able to understand in the Quran as well. Inshallah, we'll be doing in the Quran. Everyone got that? Any questions on that up to there? Yeah, it has to be an ism for, that's a good point there. For an ism to be an amila, so kitab is what we call amila. For the kitab to be an amila, it has to work on an ism. Because it can't work on, technically, it can't really work on a fi'l, or it can't really work on a harf. However, there are a few exemptions which I'll mention. Okay, so generally, this is the rule. So generally, this is the rule, but there are a few exemptions, and inshallah we'll look at those exemptions. In other words, some isms have the power to influence verbs as well. Yeah, some isms have the power to influence verbs. So let's look at what we've understood now. So every single ism. So let's say, for example, we took this hadith. So ad-deenu an-nasiha. So ad-deenu an-nasiha. 6 things we're going to look into this. Number 1, is it ma'rifah or is it nakira? So the word deen, let's say, is this ma'rifah or nakira? So we can say it's ma'rifah, for instance. Okay, we'll learn about how a word becomes ma'rifah in a bit. I'm going to explain that today. But I'm just listing of how we should do this. Number 2, is it 1, 2, or 3? Single, dual, or plural? So we say it's times 1. It's a single word. Number 3, is it masculine or feminine? So we look at the word and we say, okay, it's masculine. Very good. Number 4, is it mu'rab or is it mabni? I.e., is deen a word in the Arabic language whose vowels are changeable or non-changeable? So we say it's mu'rab. It's a word whose vowels can change. Next, is it marfu, is it mansub or majroor? So we say, okay, in this case, it's marfu. Okay, it's marfu. Why is it marfu? And in this case, we say it's because it's what we call a mubtada. And inshallah, don't worry about this, guys. I'm going to explain what a mubtada is, but I'm just giving you a little brief rundown of how we're going to be applying this. And finally, is it amila or ghair amila? So we say it's ghair amila. It has no effect. Ghair amila. It has no effect on any words after it. Okay, so ad-deenu an-nasiha. Right, so this is basically what the course is about. Yeah, the course is basically about any sentence. We should be able to break it down into its original components and be able to understand it like that. Okay, so like this we go through nasiha, like this we're going to do all the words, and we're also going to be applying it to Quran. And you'll see in the Quran the importance of knowing this sentence structuring, what we call, it's called Tarkeeb. Sentence structuring is essential if you want to understand the miracle of the Quran. If you want to see how amazing the Quran is in its meaning, you need to understand this. It's essential, especially if you want to go into balagha. Right? If you want to go into balagha, then this is like really important. So anyway, these are 6 points that we're going to be focusing on in every ism. Finally, what we're going to be learning as well is we're going to be learning harf as well. So harf, remember harf is a particle, something that's not an ism, not a fi'l. We're going to be looking at harf as well. So harf are of 2 types. They're not technically 2 types. Let me explain something to you beforehand. You know, in the Arabic language, when you say the word harf, one is the alphabetical harf, like alif, ba, ta, yeah, the alphabet. And one is the grammar harf. We're not going to be focusing on the alphabet. We're going to be focusing on grammar. So the harf, which is known as a harf in grammar, we're going to be studying that. And this harf is divided into 2 categories. Right? So you got amila and you've got ghair amila. So you got some harfs that have the power to change vowels of following words, and you've got some harf that have no ability to influence any vowels at all. They only, you can say, they only represent meaning and no effect in the tarkeeb. So for instance, let's say if I wrote something like this. If I said Zaydun fi al-bayt. Now, in this sentence, Zayd is an ism. Zayd is an ism because Zayd is the name of a person and it's not restricted to any time. Al-bayt, this is also an ism, right? Because it means house, and house is not restricted to time. And fi is a harf. So this is a harf because on its own it has no independent meaning. It only exists when you attach it to something else. Now this fi is actually an amila. Amila meaning that it affects the vowels of words after it. So fi affects the vowel of bayt, and every time you get fi before bayt, you always give it kasra. So it's affected that vowel. It's forced bayt to take a kasra. So we say fi belongs to the family of amilas, effective vowels. However, there are words in the Arabic language, there are harf in the Arabic language that do not do a thing. Yeah, so for example, like hal Zaydun salihun. So this sentence, it has the word hal in there. Hal is a harf, and it means like a question, is or are. So in this case, it means, is Zayd pious? Now the word hal is ineffective. It cannot do anything. It cannot physically change the vowels of any of the words after it. Yeah, so it's like dormant in effectiveness. But it has a meaning, and the meaning is or are. All right, and so this sentence is known as a jumla ismiya. Yeah, even though at the beginning of the sentence you have a harf, we don't consider that. There is no such sentence in the Arabic language which is a jumla harfiya. There is no such thing. So it's as though the harf at the beginning of the sentence is non-existent when it comes to calling it jumla ismiya or jumla fi'liya. So Zayd is jumla, is a ism. So the sentence is an ism based sentence. Everyone understand that up to there? Yeah, makes sense? Excellent, excellent. Alhamdulillah. Hope I'm going at the right pace. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Right. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah accept. Okay. Right. Now, I want to explain certain things to you guys now. Okay. Those things that I want to explain to you are as follows. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you out handouts. I prefer, instead of writing every single thing down, I prefer to give students handouts more because number one, it saves time. Okay, it saves me a lot of time, and it also saves us time, you as well. Save you guys a lot of time because we only have really like 1 hour. By the way, I might go slightly over time, okay, on some weeks. So I've said 1 hour, but might just go maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes extra. I hope that's okay with you guys. The lessons are being recorded, by the way. So if anyone does miss out on anything, don't worry. I'm going to send you the recordings. You can watch the recordings all again, inshallah. And then, inshallah, you can catch up. So there are a few basic things that we need to understand, all right, in Arabic language. And I've explained some of them. There's just a few more left. Now, these are as follows, okay? So I'm not going to do them in detail here. But what I'll do is I'll mention the concept. And then I'll give you some material, handouts, that you can look through, inshallah, and you can apply it. So, number one, okay, is what we called, these are all types of isms, what we call ism ishara. Okay, ism ishara. Now, ism ishara in Arabic language is extremely common in the Quran. Every single, surah, nearly every other verse in the Quran has an ism ishara in there, almost. Yeah, ism ishara. So we're going to be looking at ism isharas. Number 2 is we're going to be looking at something called ism damirs. So this is another type of isms, nouns. It's called ism damirs. Number 3 is we're going to look at ism mawsul. Ism mawsuls. And okay, those are the main 3 we need to know. So these are the main 3 things that we need to know. And inshallah, in the coming lessons, possibly in next week's lesson, inshallah, I'm going to go in more detail about these. But what I want you to know about these is that all these isms, number 1 is that all of these are mabni. They belong to the mabni family, and mabni family means that their vowels generally, nearly all of them, and I say generally they are mabni. Generally, most of them are mabni. And number 2 is that for 1, for 2, and for 3, meaning mufrad, single, dual, and plural, there's a different form for each one. So for single, for dual, and for plural, there's a single form for each one. Right. Once you've understood this, now let me explain. Ism ishara in English basically means when you point at something. So in English when we say something like this and that, this and that. So ism ishara is basically in Arabic all those words that have the meaning of this and that. So if I say to you, pick up this book, did you see that man? Yeah. Have you read this book? So that, but like I said to you, they're all mabni in Arabic, and for single you have a specific form, for dual you have a specific form, and for plural you have a specific form. So that's handouts I'm going to give you, and inshallah next week I'll just go through the handout. Okay, number 2, ism damir. Ism damir basically means he, she, they, we, etc. Yeah, pronouns, like we call it in English pronouns. So for example, if I say I saw her, I picked it up, it, they were with, yeah, we were, he saw us. So these are all what we call damirs, pronouns, right? In English, pronouns. Again, these are most of them, all of them are mabnis, and one single, it has a specific form. For dual, there's a specific form, and for plural, there's a specific form, which we're going to look at. And finally, mawsuls. Okay, so mawsul. Again, mawsul in English, I mean, what I would say mawsul would be is like in English when we say who and which. Who and which sums up mawsul. Okay, so for example, like if I say, have you seen the book which is in the room? Have you seen the book which is in the room? So that which is mawsul. Did you see a man who looks like Zaid? Did you see a man who looks like Zaid? So who. Again, they're all mabni, or majority of them are mabni, and 1, 2, and 3. For single, you have a specific form. For dual, you have a specific form. For plural, you have a specific form. Okay, and like I said, inshallah, in the handouts, it'll become more clear. And next week, inshallah, I'll go through each one just to explain what is the English of ism mawsul. I can't remember, It's probably got some mad name or something. Some Shakespeare name. Yeah, because a lot of these books that are translated into English, they use English words which a lot of us are not really familiar with. Mosul, what do they call it? I can't remember. Alright, anyway. Now I'm going to give you some reading. If you want some extra reading, I'll give you some English books, Arabic grammar, obviously, but written English, which are good to read if you want to read on the side. Inshallah, in the end, I'll give you a little list that you can find for yourself. Okay, so let's go back to this then. So today what we're going to learn, like officially, the main kind of lesson that we're going to learn, is we're going to look at ma'rifah and nakira. Okay, ma'rifah and nakira. So here goes then. So ma'rifah are definite words. Definite words is basically means this, that a word that when you're speaking to someone, they know what you're talking about. So when you're speaking to someone, like for example, if I say to you, have you seen the weather? So the weather is something that me and you both know what it means. Or if I say to you, what did you do on Friday? So Friday is something both of us know what we're talking about. It's definite. And the opposite of definite is indefinite, when I might know what I'm talking about, but you might not know. Something that's not specific and it's not precise. So definite words in Arabic are 7. There's 7 general definite words that you have in Arabic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so there's 7 definite. And when I say 7, I mean 7 nouns, okay, isms. Ma'rifah with regards to ism. There's 7 ma'rifahs in the Arabic language. Okay, and anything besides them is considered to be a indefinite nakira. So what are they? Number 1 is all damirs. We just talked about damirs. All damirs, any damir you get in the Arabic language is considered to be ma'rifah. So he, she, they, we, it, all of that is considered to be ma'rifah. Number 2 is all proper names, proper nouns. Okay, so all names are considered to be what we call proper nouns, are considered to be ma'rifah. So for example, like my name Liaqat, or Zaid, or London, or Saudi Arabia, or Mecca, or Earth, anything like that. Any sort of name that something has a name automatically is considered to be ma'rifah. Okay, number 3, ishara. All ism isharas, right, are considered to be ma'rifahs. So like we said, we're going to do about isharas, but for now, all you have to know is all isharas are ma'rifah. So for example, like this, that, yeah, this, that, all of that is considered to be ma'rifah. Number 4 is all mawsuls. All mawsuls are considered to be ma'rifahs. All mawsuls. Okay, so like who, which. Did you see the man who is in the shop? So who is considered to be a ma'rifah. Did you read that book which was written by Shakespeare? So which, again, here is mawsul, ma'rifah. Number 5 is something which is known as idafa, or what we call mudaf. Now, let me explain this a little bit. Okay, let me explain this a little bit. Idafa, we're going to do it in more detail, inshallah. But I just want to give you a little overview of what this is all about. If you have two words, for example, like if I have the word Rasul, Allah. If you have two words and between the two words you have a link which is known as the of rule link. I call it the of rule link. So for example, Rasul means messenger, Allah means Allah. So if I say to you Rasul Allah, it means the messenger of Allah. So whenever you have two words and the link between the two words is an of, a hidden of, you call this idafa. The first word is known as mudaf, and the second word is known as mudaf ilayhi. Yeah. If I said, for instance, if I said Kitab al-Ustadh. Okay, Kitab means book, al-Ustadh means teacher. So, what do we call Kitab here? Mudaf. Excellent. Yep. The first word of the of is called the mudaf. The second word after the of is known as mudaf ilayhi. We're going to be learning more about this, inshallah, as we go through. For now, all I want you to understand is that between two words, right, one of the links that can exist is a link which is known as mudaf and mudaf ilayh. This is called idafa in Arabic. Idafa. That's the technical name. Idafa in Arabic. So Kitab al-Ustadh, mudaf, mudaf ilayh. So let's go back to this then. So number 5 is this. Is if a word is mudaf to sorry. One second. Let me just delete this. Okay, we'll come back to the mudaf one, because there's one thing I've just missed out, just realized. Number 5 is any word that has al at the beginning. Any word, any noun that has al. Does anyone know what al means in Arabic? Al? The. Excellent. Yeah, so for instance, if I said something like, if I say the word rajul, it means man. But if I attach to the beginning of that word al, it means the man. So simply in Arabic, if you have al at the beginning of any word, it means the. So let's go back to this then. So any word that has al at the beginning, is considered to be ma'rifah, definite. Number 6. Okay, number 6. This is the mudaf one. Number 6 is any word that is mudaf to the previous 5. Any word that is mudaf to the previous 5. What does this mean? It means any word that occurs as mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi is one of these 5. Mudaf ilayhi is one of these 5. So let's say, for example, we had the word kitab. Now, if the mudaf is a damir here, like for example, let's say we had the damir hu, kitabuhu, which means his book, automatically the word kitab is now ma'rifah, because it's been mudaf, it's been put into as a mudaf for a damir. Or let's say, for example, instead of that, let's say we had a name, kitab Allah. Allah is the name, and so this mudaf is going to be counted as ma'rifah, because the mudaf ilayhi is one of these. Or let's say, take that away, ishara, kitab, and we said hadha, this, the book of this, So because kitab has occurred as a mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi is a ishara, kitab is ma'rifah. Mawsul, exactly the same thing. So if we had, like for example, kitabu man, and then usually after mawsul you have something else with it as well. So kitabu man ja'a or man qara'a. So because of that, kitab would be counted as ma'rifah. And last but not least, al. Any word that has al. For example, if we had kitab al rajul. If you have the word kitab al-rajul, then what that basically means is the word kitab is mudaf to a word that is ma'rifah. And that's all you have to know for that. Okay, now finally the last is this, is a word that appears after ya. We call this munada. Munada. In Arabic you write like this, munada. So a word that appears after ya, right, is also considered. For example, ya Allah, ya Rasul Allah, ya Rajul, ya Muslim. So a word that generally appears after ya is considered to be a ma'rifah. So these are the 7 ma'rifahs that you need to remember. Okay, 7 ma'rifahs. And once you identify each one, once you're able to understand each one, if you were to go into the Quran, let's say, and you said, for instance, okay, ulaika. So if you knew that ulaika is a okay, that's fine. I've actually just finished now anyway. So we'll have a little break. Brother needs to pray, inshallah. Brother's from, inshallah, America. So alhamdulillah, we'll give him a little chance. You guys can ask questions whilst he's praying his fajr, inshallah. Okay, and inshallah I'll be finishing in about just got a little bit left, inshallah. So when the brother comes back, we'll continue. So if you guys got questions, inshallah. Yeah, so look at each one of these things, guys. Think about it. That damirs, all damirs, names, isharas, mawsuls, al, any word that's mudaf, and the mudaf ilayhi is one of these 5, and any word that comes after ya. Right, so let's say, for example, look in the Quran now. So if we were to look in the Quran and I said to you, okay, the word Allah, what's this? Is this ma'rifah or nakira? What would you say? Remember, so out of the 7, ma'rifah. Why is it ma'rifah? What does it fulfill out of the 7? It's a name. Excellent. Yeah, it's a name. Okay, let's say Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman, is that ma'rifah or nakira? Al. Excellent. Ar-Rahim, is that ma'rifah or nakira? Okay. Alhamdu, is that ma'rifah or nakira? Okay. Rabb. Now remember, this is an of rule. So Rabbil Alameen. So this is an of rule. So is Rabb a ma'rifah or a nakira? So Rabb is mudaf. It's ma'rifah. And why is it ma'rifah? What's the mudaf ilayhi got on it? Al. Excellent. Again, as-sirat, ihdina as-sirat. Is that ma'rifah or nakira? Sirat. Excellent. Okay, what about sirata? This is an of rule. This is mudaf. Sirat is mudaf, and alladhina is a mawsul. So is sirata ma'rifah or nakira? Ma'rifah. Excellent. Why is it ma'rifah? Okay, because it's mudaf to a mawsul. Okay, so like that, I mean, I would say this, you can actually study Arabic grammar in a very short span of time, because the rules are very, very easy to grasp, and as long as you've got, the main concepts, the foundations firm, the rest of it's, simple, very, very easy, the rest of it is. So you just need to understand these main points that I mentioned. If you understand these points, right, then you can understand. And for example, like when I teach students, after I teach them, I usually teach in a madrasa. So when I teach them Tarkeeb and teach them Nahu, we go into Quran, and I mean the guys, they can do Tarkeeb of any ayah you give them. So if you give them ayats, they'll be able to do Tarkeeb of all of this. They can explain every single word, what every single word is. They can explain how it affects, and they can explain the different possible meanings if you were to look at different tarkeebs. Yeah, so like arsalna fiikum rasulan minkum. There's about 4 tarkeebs you can do of this, and each one has a slightly different meaning, and each meaning is relevant. Each one is relevant. Each one makes sense. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be looking at. So let me just sum up what we've done today. So I'll wait for the brother, inshallah. So today we covered, okay, words are of 3 types. So we have words which are isms, words which are fi'ls, words which are harfs. Okay, so you got 3 types of words out there, and there's no 4th type of word. You only get these 3. By the way, isms, I'm going to inshallah give you a chart, right? I'm going to give you a chart where there's 21 types of isms in the Arabic language. Okay, so altogether, all the isms, all the different types of isms in the Arabic language, there's 21 different, like individual. I'm not talking about categories, right? That's different, that is. I'm talking about specific types of isms that you get, that we can group the isms into 21 types of categories. No problem, brother. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so brother, we were just applying the rules that we've done so far. So we were applying them. So let's have another go, so brother can join in as well, inshallah. So let's look at what we covered so far. And we said ma'rifah is of 7 types of ma'rifah. So you got damirs, names, isharas, mawsuls, al, mudaf, munada. And one of the best things to do is to try and rhyme them. So the way I do it is like this: damirs, names, ishara, mawsul, al, mudaf, and ya. Damirs, names, ishara, mawsul, al, mudaf, and ya. So if you keep saying it to yourself every day, 1 or 2 times a day, after about a week you'll memorize it. Damirs, names, ishara, mawsul, al, mudaf. And remember, learn it in this order, okay? Learn it in this order. This is a unique order, this is. In Arabic grammar, it's unique. Okay, so let's look at the Quran then. So brother, let's have a go at this then. So al-kitab, is this ma'rifah or nakira? And if it is ma'rifah, why is it ma'rifah? Al, excellent. Okay. Rabbika. So Rabb is mudaf to ka, which is a damir. It's a pronoun. So Rabb is mudaf, ka is damir. So why is Rabb ma'rifah or nakira? And if it's ma'rifah, why? Ma'rifah, and why? Excellent, because it has a damir, it has a ism damir, pronoun after it. Excellent. Okay, what about wijhatun? Wijhatun. Is that ma'rifah or nakira? No, not ma'rifah. It's not mudaf. Yeah, it's nakira, because it doesn't fulfill any of the criteria. Yeah, so the criteria that we had, the 7 things, it's not a damir, it's not a name, it's not an ishara, it's not a mawsul, it's not an al, nor is it mudaf to any of the 5, nor does it have a ya before it. Have you got that, yeah? Okay, right, so let's sum up, guys, today's lesson. So we didn't start any hadith today, but what I want you to do for next week is I want you to try and apply whatever you've understood from today's lesson into the first few hadith. Try if you can, whatever you've learnt, right? So an ism, try to work it out if it's an ism and apply it, inshallah. And as we go through, you'll pick up all these things, right? So that's the first thing. Words are of three types: ism, fi'ls, and harfs. Then if a sentence is a fi'l-based sentence, I deliberately call it a fi'l-based sentence, okay? You'll understand that later on, why I call it that. Jumla fi'liya. And an ism-based sentence, which is known as a jumla ismiya. And I told you the difference between the two, didn't I? Yeah, that jumla fi'liya is a jumla which has the meaning where you can ask a question of what did so-and-so do? So it has a temporal meaning now and again. And ism-based sentence is a question you can ask, who done that? So it has a permanent meaning and it has more emphasis in there. And we talked about the definition of the ism. It's a meaning and it has no time. Fi'l is a meaning, it has time. And harf has no independent meaning and it's not bound to time. And we looked at also that every single noun ism can be divided into three categories, into the marfu family, mansub family, majrur family. And we gave one example. We said every file, every doer of an action belongs to the marfu family. So whenever you get that, you got to make in that family. And number 8, we said mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. And that words, isms, are divided into two types. We said there's amilas and there's ghair amilas. And then we talked about some harf as well, which are amilas, like fi, it affects the vowel, and some harfs that have no effect at all. And we also talked about the three things: ism isharas, ism damirs, ism mawsuz. And we said 2 points you need to remember: they're all mabni, and 1, 2, and 3 have different shapes and forms. Okay, and we talked about ma'rifah, 7 types of ma'rifah: damir, ishara, mawsul, al mudaf, and ya. Okay, and that's it. Any questions, guys? Yeah, so I know today was quite intense because we had lots of things, and I deliberately gave you lots of things so we don't have to come back to this again. So I'll be going in detail about each one, but the overview, you got the idea of the overview, what we want to achieve. And inshallah, with my effort, with your effort, inshallah, we're gonna inshallah get through this and we'll be able to do tarkeeb of anything. Yep, inshallah, I'll send all of you guys recordings, inshallah. Okay, now if you guys want to do extra reading, what I suggest is, in English there's 2 books. One's called Tasheel an-Nahu. Yeah, it's been translated from Urdu to English. That's very good. Tasheel Nahu, you can PDF it, you can Google it. And another one is called Arabic Tutor, which has also been translated into English from Urdu. Arabic Tutor. Arabic Tutor is more extensive. It's actually 4 volumes. And Tasheel an-Nahu is 1 volume. So if you want to do your own extra reading on the side, read up on things, that's fine. I think that's very good to do as well, if you like. But if you don't want it, no problem. Don't worry about it. Inshallah, the lesson should be enough. Any questions, guys? No, sorry for the interruptions early on with the connection. Hopefully that won't happen again. And I hope you guys have a good week, inshallah. Next week, okay, the times in England change, so Sunday time's gonna change. So brother Abdul Malik, you might have to sort out the times then. So we go 1 hour, I think it's, what is it, 1 hour back, 1 hour forward, 1 hour back here. We go 1 hour back. Alright guys, take care. Remember me in du'as, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.